Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Awesome Premier League. Apologies for that. We had a bit of a remake. The circle issues are hopefully fixed. It wasn't down to the fact the circle was in the shitty spot down the bottom left-hand corner. It was down to the fact it wasn't the right size. So got to get the settings right. I'm Lee Davis Smith, and joining me is Cameron Davis once again for this one, as the playing will definitely make a couple of teams have to think about their position. It's going to go over the top of Pachinki down to Primorsk, and we'll see where the TSM, they're going to go into Yasnaya, but will they get tested? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, it looks like they have a free fall there. I'm trying to think of what teams are going to be in a lot of trouble right now, because a couple of the teams that we saw go to Georgiapol, particularly in Game 2, only went there because of the plane route. I think perhaps one maybe long dropping over to Georgiapol, and I'm a little curious if they're going to try and long drop over the mountain. But on the route they're currently taking, there aren't that many vehicle spawns, so this is an interesting direction that they're trying to take. They may actually just run head-to-head against Millennium in Ruins and Watertown.
Yeah. Looks like, judging, I'm looking at Mikaz's his view. He was like looking left, looking right. Is he going to try and long drop over there? They're going to maybe go over the river. Yuki is kind of hovering around. Raz is going long. Okay. So they're going to avoid. Okay. Because obviously these two guys, one's position is very much exactly the same loot area as Millennium. And that's interesting, right? It's actually Millennium have just stuck to the guns, and one have chose to not challenge them at all, not contest it.
Okay, good. I was worried about Larry. Here's one that I was mostly worried about. You can't really long drop over either of the two big mountains in this game, and he was landing right next to FCE, but he was able to find a bike and able to drive rotation. So everything should be fine in this early game. Seems that everyone's connected as well. So this early game should be going quite smooth, I expect. I'm looking. Oh, and this is a nice little circle to start us off. This is polar opposite to last game, to the remade circle.
Okay, question. What did Method do? They like to move early. What do they do?
Oh, we gotta move. We're moving. I don't know.
We're already sent up.
Actually, Pachinki, what I like to do is take the compound that, or I've seen a lot of teams do that I think is really effective. Ghost did this yesterday. I think it was probably one of the reasons why they won. I believe it was Game 2 of GLL Bravo. Is you saw that compound on the west where Xcris was, I think, and take that with the duo split with the church across that road. I think it's really good to allow you to gain control, and you're not overcommitting to holding the entirety of Pachinki as well. And so it gives you the most options, and so which is really good, particularly in the early game.
Yeah, it looks like they're probably just gonna move on out and keep on going. Of course, it's a team that is in transition. I think it's safe to say with Method, of course, with Leighton and Energetic Turtle leaving after Katowice. Leighton going on to a full-time job. Energetic Turtle in the end moving on to Ghost Gaming and having unparalleled success. He's obviously delighted with his choice right now.
Yeah, literally just won a LAN competition. I think that is the shortest time between forming and winning a LAN event that I think we've ever seen, and is actually still pretty fast in the context of any esport. So definitely very proud of that. Definitely happy with his performance there. But yeah, the rest of Method don't exactly know what's going to happen in the future. Andy's going to be looking for a new full squad, but right now, as you said, still in transition, still kind of just playing out these leagues with stand-ins for now until something fully finalized works out.
Yeah, there's been no announcements whether Chris and Stab have been playing with him for 3 weeks now, I think, something like that. So there's not been an announcement of any sort of signed players or anything. So you got to assume they're going to join there because they're still playing together. So obviously something they feel is working, but the results have been varied of late. Rory, of course, speaking of players coming in, obviously probably more pressure on his shoulders now that Vis is stepping down. He's obviously announced it seems on his stream today.
Yeah.
And obviously APR coming back in. Rory obviously was the original replacement for APR. APR moving to the coach role and now seemingly moving back to the player role, or whether he's somebody else they're going to be looking for. I mean, that's a big org, full salaried. These are interesting position, and interesting because TSM have the buying power to go and get someone. Now, where the hell is
Just go by Andy.
Is he not
Just
in
go
the
by
game?
Andy.
Going by Andy Pyro? Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know if that would fit with their style. Oh, there he is. Okay,
It wouldn't. It wouldn't. They already have their fraggers. I think what TSM needs, especially now that they lost Vist, who up until now I believe has been their shot caller, they need someone like a Balak, for a most recent example of a new addition to a roster, to be like the mind to kind of bring everything together, the same way that we had Meter moving from Gorilla Core over to Alliance. Or I guess they were FaZe when he left from FaZe over to Alliance. But I think, yeah, so they have the fraggers, especially with Break still being on the roster. We know that guy can shoot. And NPR, I think, even though you don't really see it in the server a lot, looking at his streams and just knowing his history with Battle Royale, we know he's a really good player as well. The whole roster is.
He's a
But I
CS
really
1.6
think
guy
what they
as well.
need. Yeah, exactly. But I really think what they need is some sort of mind. They need some smart guy, some nerd.
Which feels weird when you got Smack and Break in there, because obviously Smack's got like a massive history in Battle Royale type games and stuff like that. But yeah, obviously, and this is actually, we were discussing this yesterday when obviously it was with Moses and Martin and Avenger and Boogie, and we were at dinner. We were talking about how PUBG is kind of like developing from this single shot caller to this like single in-game leader to a macro and a micro leader, like one overall guy. And we were using obviously Liquid, for example, as an example. And obviously, so you have Scoom as like the overall guy that calls like the positional stuff, and then you have Jeems that's literally like giving you the micro details of like, we need to flank round the right side of this building, left side, this blah blah blah. You go this position, that sort of stuff. So it's not just a case of like one single vision, effectively.
Well, it's gonna depend from team to team. There's no one fit all answer for this. But yeah, how a lot of teams, they're realizing that they can't focus on either only micro or only macro. They need to have skills in both. And even though you can have a strength, like just looking at FaZe compared to Avantgarde, totally different ends of the spectrum, where FaZe are definitely more on the macro side, Avantgarde definitely more on the micro side. But I feel like TSM, they really kind of need that macro.
Blade, he's been creeping up on them. This is a strong compound, not really central, but it is a very strong compound to hold. Now, obviously, he was following FC Eastbo, who we can see obviously on the map have decided to like bucket and carry on going because they want to get a little bit more central because they've been on the Gatka loot. But I think he probably just saw them there leaving, so he's finally realizing he's actually on his own from LFO. LFO is an org that they're not an org in the first place, that have not really shone at all for me, in my opinion. They're kind of like, they're one of the teams, they're 13th, don't get me wrong, they're 13th in a global auzom point scheme, so that, they're keeping themselves in and around lobby one and doing decent stuff, but I feel that this is kind of like their threshold at the moment.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. We talked about Exalt in a similar situation of them at the beginning of last game, I think, about how they're kind of just barely on the threshold. They're just hanging around here and getting more experience. We'll see if they can't continue to climb higher and eventually become one of the top teams. But as of now, they're kind of just they're a decent. They're definitely a good team. Like, you have to be a good team to be in the top 16 in Europe.
Yeah.
But we'll see if in the future they can't get any higher.
Something that hasn't really been mentioned too much about these teams, obviously, your TSMs, your FaZe, your Vitality, basically, we're at the busiest period that's ever been in PUBG. There's weekly competitions, 5-6 days a week sometimes. Scrims are scheduled daily, but sometimes it doesn't happen between them. There's a quite heavy scrim roster in the background that I know about between these guys, obviously. And then you've also got, the travel. We've just had Bucharest, we've had Kiev, we've had Poland. Some of these guys, if you were think of like FaZe and Vitality, they were in Korea before that. These guys have been on the road heavily. And from what I'm aware, both FaZe and Vitality really haven't scrimmed much lately because they're involved so heavily in all these competitions. Now, that conversely can have an impact. Obviously, if it's going well, then sure, great. But if things start to go wrong, you don't get time to fix things, which is, I think, is probably actually Vitality's issue right now.
Yeah, they're actually taking shots on FaZe right now, a little mad at them, bro. for all this happening. But yeah, I definitely agree how, particularly just looking at Vitality, because they've been struggling a lot. If they're not scrimming though, do they really have a space that they can try new things out? Because when you're struggling in an event that has a prize pool or just any sort of prestige on it, you want to stay as high as possible. And so there's the whole, like, do we risk, like, what's the risk reward? Are we okay with actually just staying middle of the pack, or do we want to make the risk to get better, but, you know, potentially fall significantly? And so I think Vitality, they need to figure out some sort of space for them to figure something out, because we were talking about them earlier today, how as of now it's not working. They're still in the middle of the pack European team, which is, you know, I think a lot of teams would love to be in that position, but from Vitality they are not happy with that. They want to be
exactly,
back at the top.
yeah. And that's the thing, right? When you're at the top and you go down, that's when the questioning begins. Fastface is about to get challenged. Actually, he's very close to the Knights. Hello, don't roll that vehicle. Bad spot to do it. Will get away with it. Goes a little wide. The Knights are taking shots on him. You can see he takes a bit of damage, but should be able to get himself up the hill and to his team. Interesting. All three of those teams, obviously, you know, they're in and around each other in the spawns, but posting themselves pretty close on this circle. It's a central circle, so they've kind of come in late. But yeah, going back to that, I mean, this is the issues, and I guess it's because we're in an unusual position for PUBG where we have had so much activity.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say look at the Counter-Strike community, obviously they have by far the busiest schedule of anyone. You could argue Dota 2 also alongside them. That is a nice crate. But they've got to try and maybe even look to that sort of scene and see how they deal with the travel schedules, the online schedules. They're like just a bombardment of work, and that's where managers and coaches for these teams come into it, right? They can reach out and talk to fellow professionals in the scene that do a similar role to them and see how they deal with it. And that's probably the stage we're starting to get at to PUBG, because it's a newly embryonic form, really. Esports ready, the meme that loves to go out there. You know, it really is very early days. Like, it's crazy to see. Obviously, Brendan's birthday today, and he's basically saying 2 years and 1 day he went to Korea to start making the fucking game. It's only 2 years old. It's incredible. So it's such early days. But yeah, these guys are. I mean, it's a long ride, I think, for some of these players. But they've got to be careful that they don't fall out of it at the early stages, because it's totally possible that some of these players could burn themselves out and fall before the game really takes off.
We've already seen a couple of players actually have to leave, and I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily the reason why a lot of them left is because of burnout specifically, but we've already kind of seen some teasings of that happening. Raptor right now, I think he traded 1-for-1 in that, but that's an interesting position that he finds himself in. I don't think he's going to get revived from that spot. I think his team was up in the northwest, coming in on a rotation onto the second circle, and then ended up going where they were not wanted.
I think Tommy got knocked by Yempty up on the hills.
Huh.
So yeah. So maybe he's on the roof at school. Maybe he was. I'm not too sure. Whoa. Okay. I think LFO just lost 2. I mean, they were trailing FC Espo the entire time in those 2 complexes. We saw it earlier on. Looking around, most people are in the circle. Warner coming around from the west side. Everybody else is trying to get themselves there or thereabouts. We see Method here. You did rotate just slightly outside of Ross Soccer. Weren't too sure, but they found themselves FC Espo.
Nice shots, but long range aren't going to connect all of them enough to get a knock. But he's continuing to put pressure. As his team arriving, I wonder if Method are going to want to actually breach onto FCE. Looking at FCE's positioning, they could wrap around the side and end up sharing that compound with them, which is obviously a risk for both of these teams, especially in the early game, to do so. And now that Millennium are tossing some shots out of their own, I think that's actually going to deter Method from fully pushing in onto this.
Well, Damien lining up shots. Where's this circle going to swing? Are we going to go north, south, east, west, central? If it goes central, face are happy. So interesting, because obviously it's quite a big hilly ground. There's a lot of space for teams in there, which is why you see in Rogue pretty close to them, but there's no way they've got any vision because they're completely other side of the hills to one another. Vitality are working their way towards the central as well. I think some of these teams are going to trip over one another when the circle shifts, because it could certainly make things a wee bit interesting. As UDMA fire from Exalt just makes himself a little circle. He's going to be sitting way out on the edge. He's way down the coast because it is such a huge circle, the first circle. Fully measured, I believe, to 4 kilometers. We want to make sure that is the settings are correct.
I really do wonder what Uyu's doing. This isn't the first time we've seen him, but oh, now it's actually Rogue in a little bit of a fight. I think Method are now have their sights set on Rogue as Jazza gets taken out. Ewan, he's running forward to try and get that revive, but wants to obviously make sure that it's a safe run over there. Takes a couple of shots, but does have the tree for cover and is going to be able to get the revive. But 8C already on the faster run up. Question is if he's going to get there in time to stop the revive. Perhaps if he had a nade, could do a lot of work up this hill. But they don't want to overcommit to this so early on. They don't want to find themselves caught out of position, considering that I don't know if they spotted more than those first 2 players of Rogue.
I mean, they got to assume there's 4, right? At this stage, you know, it's a 4-man team usually.
But they don't know where they are, is what I mean.
Yeah. But they are trying to make the move. Stabs looks like he's backing him up as well. He has a decent tree line to go tree to tree to tree to make his way up. Now there's a big gap, and that's what 80's trying to look towards. Jazz just took another big hit. Does get behind the rock. You see smokes down. Rogue are repositioning themselves for a fight here, so they're kind of willing to take this on, it seems. So Method and Rogue clashing, both quite happy to go at it. We have one guy covering the back as well. The circle has shifted. It's gone fairly westerly. It does mean it's gone straight on the Knights. They're in a really happy position because they don't need to move compound. FaZe are probably going to just adjust themselves and maybe go across. But look at Vitality. Look how quick they're getting into these small little areas. That little yellow building shack there looks like they're taking a beeline for it. And looks like they're going to get themselves a crate as well.
Vitality doing Vitality things. Still not comfortable going directly onto a compound instead of just stopping onto a hill. Where they always just hang out. But this is going to be a nice Mark 14 helping out with 2 8Xs in the level 3. I think those are the 2 more important parts of this crate. Mark 14 is a little bit of a controversial weapon in of itself.
Yeah. Well, the Knights, we talked about them. They're in place. Oh, Tommy, he's been spun, knocked down. TSM get themselves a kill. It's going to be Break that will spray him down from range. I have no doubt he did it in a spray, so those things happening.
Yeah, now actually that forces their other main player members of Diamond Dogs into this awful hut. Awful. Absolutely terrible. Even if they weren't caught in between a crossfire of a 2-2 split of TSM, this is still one of the worst huts in the game because it's right out in an open field, surrounded by a number of compounds with multiple floors and multiple angles to spot any sort of attempted movement around that area. So they just got to hope that no one breaches in onto them and that they're in the circle for as long as possible because TSM, they are not letting up onto this.
Yeah, with that many smokes down, okay, so they have managed to get Ultra out the back, it seems. Looks like he may have gone out the back as well. Nobody from TSM is going to push for it. There's no reason to, but they have them pinned.
They got the car down too, so
yeah,
difficult rotation. That's a number of smokes though to potentially get to that tree line. I don't exactly know why they'd want to get to that tree, but maybe it'll allow them to do something with the different angle of approach onto that compound to the north. But those smokes are dissipating.
Yeah, I think perhaps they were probably deciding to do it, and you saw TSM, right? Every member of TSM was taking shots through that smoke, so I think they just basically discouraged them to try and make that move. It doesn't seem to work out for them. The Uncharged for the guys of Zook and Nam having to push in, actually pushing in on Digital Chaos, it seems. There's going to be a knock on route, so DC trying to get siege down here. Dingo Rab's going aggressive, getting around the side faster. We'll deal with him. Digital Chaos not being their day today, but maybe this could be the start of something beautiful if they can deal with Dingo Rabs out the back. And now Eki looks like his last man.
Yeah. They're very nice breach by Digital Chaos. It's basically just the only way to really describe it. They pushed in, they got the takes, and now just Eki left hiding out in the tiny little garage. There are being shots done up by Lumbermill on Digital Chaos, so it's going to keep them marginally pinned. But FaZe now on this west side, they're leaving Hexede in that compound that they, or not really compound, but that position that they took earlier. But the rest of them were spreading out to try and gatekeep this edge.
He tried to do a 360. Well, he did a 360. He's just been shot. He's just like, I'm dead. It's just like spinning around.
360 scope.
Dead. All right, looking across. The Circle's about to post up. Rogue and Method, remember, they're engaged. They've decided to obviously go separate ways. It was like a peaceful pact, and they've now put alliance between them. It's kind of like the no man's land, effectively. FC Ispo across. Actually looks like Lumbermill going for the hillside. The Circle update about to bounce in. Where are we going to go? Oh, that's gone fairly southern from the Circle, I think. Is it a bit of a donut? Gustav's going to take a peek across there. It is fairly southern yet. And Vitality, now they're happy, right? The problem is, did they move the vehicles in with them? Because they left them way down on the ridge line, right? Earlier on.
Yeah. No, looks like they had their vehicles on them. But Monkey, he's spreading out. He wants to spread out their team's map control around this area because they recognize that they have center. They can't just stick around and catch rotations and spot people on other edges of the map. They now need to actually take a full 360 control around them. And so Monkey going out like that is going to help them do just that, if they obviously don't overextend themselves. But now TSM, they're in a little bit of a tricky situation. Of course, it doesn't matter because Smack gets another kill onto Diamond Dogs. Fairies are moving around a little bit too much on the outside. But those two members of TSM need to group up with the other two. And that's going to mean that these players from Diamond Dogs, they could end up playing spoiler to that. Once they move, they're going to be in a tricky spot as well. But they can at least take 2 out of TSM before they get wiped.
I'm going to say, don't one have an angle on them? Surely. Okay. Oh, well, yeah. Ultra Peak's too wide, and he will get taken down by NPR. So, yeah, one are in the apartments behind. So they're going to force Penta or Diamond Dogs into a horrible situation. Poor old Damian, he's still alive. He's still going. Gets himself into a little shack. He's happy. Going to keep himself in there. Even got a booster as well, I think, for his journey. Let's have a look at the rotations. A couple of people going to come in. Rogue are making their way into the area. They're going to have a nice ridge line down there. Exalt actually going north. Okay, they're looking to see who's going to rotate around the northern edge, and it's FC Ispo. They are picking apart who's already took shots from Wookie Bookie and the boys of Lumbermill.
Ooh, raise go. Nice take of FCE, dropping out 2 more members. They're still in this game. The only team we lost was actually LFO very early on into this. So FCE still have at least 1 more member.
TSM got sieged. TSM getting sieged here. Mikhaus, you can see it. Rory in there. I think is it Smack that's lying on the floor there? I'm not too sure. Mikhaus trying to push around. And they got the aerial support as well from the apartments from long range. And Rory's going to get knocked. And that's 2 members of TSM going to go down here to 1. A nice siege coming out in the end. And the org from Mikhaus doing work.
Yeah, the 2 members of TSM up on the north side are a little too slow on their own rotation through, and now they get fully wiped, actually by Digital Chaos to finish them off. So TSM, they go out in 15th. So definitely, like, 2 games in a row after a first place victory is not what they were planning on.
Damian, did he just take both of them out there? No, okay, Larry stole it. That's unfortunate. I thought he popped out his shack, solo man, and took down FC Ispo, but Larry, up in that apartments area, has been doing work, but now FaZe, who've actually been sat over on that edge, getting involved in it. You can see Method continuing to trade blows with them. Vitality and Rogue trading shots as Exalt creep the way back in. It's going to be the movement from Lumbermill over on the north side here. They're going to post themselves on that little ridge line. And Eki, who's moving in. Remember, Larry is in this complex, so Eki's going to try and sneak in there from Zuknak Nam. He's the last member, I believe, of Zuknak Nam, because we saw them getting wiped by DC earlier on.
Yeah, but ooh, Luck spots them out. Diamond Dogs, they're still in this. But those shots absolutely heard by the remaining player of 1 who stayed in this area. But it seems like he has eyes on him. No, okay, outside. I'm Larry's hanging out in the corner. Heard the shots though, but Lux comes running through, tries to find a little corner for himself. Question is he's got to run back to the blue in order to retreat, I believe. Oh no, he's inside the kitchen area, so he should be fine. There's a door right there to run out, but obviously
I don't know how he actually got back there, because I'm sure, yeah, he had to push through 1 to get there. It's a bit of a weird situation. Circle shifts, and look at that. Knights of Vitality still in their compounds, still happy. Monkey gets himself another crate. That's the 2nd crate for Vitality now. So they should be pretty well stacked there, because they had double 8 times before. Exalt and Lumbermill are kind of trading. That's they have this defilade here. You can see the Knights are off to the right of Wookie Bookie, who's got himself his own. Who's trying to line up on Exalt. Ooh, show yourself like that. Wookie Bookie won't well take your head off. Got to be careful.
Shot missed, I think. He immediately swapped back over to the AR. The continued fight. Doesn't find any more peaks over though, because the sound of the AWM is going to scare anyone to ducking back down. and not over peeking onto that. Lumber Mill running around. They got to find their way in the circle, and they're going to have to push through Knights. But instead, they're actually swinging south, putting pressure, rather, onto Exalt Gaming, and to come in from that direction. They have a nice ridge line to work with, and they're on the slow side of the blue, and ooh, a nice initial drop onto Chronix is going to help them out, help them on this push. A couple Magic Ups running back up to get the revival on a teammate before the pressure arrives on the doorstep.
And they're kind of involved in this double shot, right? They've got obviously Lumbermill here, and Rogue are also engaging on the back there. Kane, oh, I'm not sure he's going to get this heel off. I don't think he will. Knock will come in the play zone in the end with the one that knocks in. The Knights across the side there. Survivor taking shots on them. I did wonder in this flank because they have to cross this. They've got this nice look at Wookie Bookie just to the left there. You can see he's behind this Deflade position, but as soon as they try to push up on Exalt, it just exposes them to the Knights, who are, well, grateful that somebody's finally shown themselves for them in this combat.
Yeah. Give me that kill. And you don't even get that kill on that player behind their rock because it was a play zone that did it. So still at 0. It's not exactly the scoreline that they're wanting. Turning away from that direction, they definitely want to take as shots as many people as possible. They could have a chance not only onto their east, but also into the northwest. Are taking shots onto Digital Chaos to take out one of those members. Voxic.
FaZe just got themselves the kill on Millennium, so Millennium go down in 11th place. They also got a knock on Vitality, so they're going to know Vitality are in that compound. You can see Alliance here being forced to push here by the zone into the back sides of Rogue as they try and work their way down the hill. They've got decent rocks and cover, so they've got themselves a decent angle. VZ's trying to get a flank over to the left, but that's a big open run if he's going to try and go for that swing. You can see Froz, who's I don't know whether he's the stand-in for Alliance right now or not. He's a kind of a player that has been bouncing around teams since the Penta days. Still unable to find anything, but this grenade is going to cook it. It could be good. It goes just before the tree, though. He does get a knock, though, in wide. Jazza, oh, that shot. No, he realizes the nade's coming and will catch him, and he's going to get caught in the back. And now Alliance and Rogue trading blows, and that's only good for Exalt, who are trying to push around the side, because now the circle is shifted. They're kind of like the gatekeepers, effectively.
Yeah, Exalt, they can just control the east side. But absolutely, Rogue. Get their revive on Jazza. They can keep Alliance out of this. But they got to push forward themselves. They do have Yannick there in the circle to help kind of pave their way, and they're not going to be too overexposed once they get inside the zone, it seems. But here comes Vitality swinging down south. Going to be swinging over all these other teams on the southern edge to push through.
The respect between them, right? Because FaZe just got the knock on Vitality. They've just revived him, so they know that FaZe are north of them. So like, okay, we're going south. We're going to go south. We're going to swing around the back. Alliance get wiped. Now they're coming in. Now they have to go through Rogue. Rogue's still got the 4 members alive as far as I'm aware. So it's a full 4-man Rogue. And these guys are obviously all fighting for position in the auzom Premier League. Global points as well. There is a vehicle available. Shiv, of course, these are where they posted their vehicles earlier on. We'll lose that back tire, though, so unfortunately he's not going to be able to work that one out. The vehicle's running away from him. Get back in cover. Now it's going to roll down the hill, so he needs to find a tree.
Yeah, but look at this far, fast push. Barax and Monkey about to breach over this hill onto Rogue. I don't know if Rogue are going to be expecting this because it seems that their attention has been turned towards Exalt, but Monkey and Arax taking shots actually at FaZe is going to give their position away. FaZe taking a lot of damage.
They got one knock. They're going to get another. Knights also involved in this because obviously we're getting this crushed pincer position. Vitality down 2 now. Rogue will push up, and that's just hard. Look for Vitality there. Shiv's on the flank. He's still coming around the side, but unfortunately his teammates have been swept out and flushed on the side. Jazza comes around the side. Shiv, his legs are showing. Yannick's going to come around the side, and yeah, that's just a position of the play, right? They tried to back away from FaZe, tried to get out of the side of them, and in the end, there's only so much space. Brexico, the 1-man of Exalt. Wookie Bookie, the 1-man of Lumbermill. He's trying to trade with the Knights. That nade might fight Kramer there, and he's got them down to 2.
Yeah, it does indeed. Now it's just Voxic and Survivor trying to turn this back, but they know where Wookie Bookie is, and he only has to shoot behind, but a wide peek out from Survivor is going to give Wookie Bookie yet another drop. Just Voxic on the fast push to try and catch Wookie Bookie from running into the zone, because Voxic has a small little corner to work with, so he can gatekeep Wookie Bookie, and he is going to find that shot. But Knight's only 1 left into the top 4. Question is if he's going to be able to turn this into anything more, but look at this fight down the south side. All 3 other teams. FaZe with 2, find 1. Let's remember a Rogue.
down the hill. This is not a good spot. You can see they're getting flanked around the side. Hexetti comes in. That's going to be Fuzzface getting the other. Vitality had already been wiped out. I think it was actually Rogue that got the kill there. Yempty will get taken down. Brexico peeks up. Doesn't get the finish, though, but he is very low. Gets a little red dot towards Fuzzface. Hexetti, sorry. Couldn't quite get the kill indeed, but he will try to finish that one off. I think he's going to bleed out. He will. So FaZe down to 2. Brexico in here, of course, with 1. And, of course, we have the Knights with 1 making their way in. So FaZe in the best position so far, and the circle goes their way.
Ooh, Voxic may be here just in time to backstab Brex and get a 5th kill for his team before he goes out, and most likely 2nd. But doesn't seem to be the case. It's going to be a nice nade from Hexetti that does that. And now Voxic, ooh, he's revealed, surrounded in a way. Actually, not at all, but still 3 sights all trained on his position. Has to get inside the circle, and he's going to be out in the open when he makes that run towards. So it's going to have to be a lot of work from him to wipe FaZe in the end here.
Got it in. If he takes it to 1v1s, which it may well happen here. First FaZe coming around the left-hand side. Hexetti up on high. Trying to pull his vision. They know where he is. They know his position. Fuzzface just waits behind the tree, the high rock. Hexetti goes for a little peek, keeps Vox's angle while Fuzzface continues to creep. Look at the minimap. You can see Fuzzface is just slowly creeping up on him right now. Well, Hexetti just keeps him busy, and there's the nade from Fuzzface. Got close enough to be able to bomb him out, and FaZe will take the chicken dinner this time around in game number 3. So they got 10 kills total as well. Decent points, FaZe. They're so damn strong.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little low on the kill count, of course, but still, they work their position very, very well throughout that game to put themselves like out of the firing line in the early game and waiting until the end for when they had a man advantage to take a lot of fights. And it could have been really bad for them. Vitality catch them out on the rotation, but luckily for FaZe, Rogue were there. Vitality didn't check below that ridge line, and that meant that once Rogue wiped Vitality, that put FaZe in position to then counter back onto Rogue, and ended up taking over the whole game. So FaZe, a first for them, and that's going to keep them up at the top because coming into this game, they're already at first place of this series so far.
Yeah, they've had a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 1st now, so they're consistent as always, and that is why they're considered #1 team in the world. They just keep that consistency. No matter what happens, they always keep that consistency. Knights as well. I mean, they won the last game, right? So they've had a 1st and a 2nd as well. It didn't go so well for them in the first game of the day, but you did just see way down in 15th place, TSM, despite the fact they had that really nice 2-2 split. This is always my problem with the 2-2 splits. If you get sieged by a 4-man team, chances are you're going to lose 2 members. But it does, of course, keep you alive with the other 2, which gives you a chance to get on there. But it also puts you in a disadvantage. And I think at the time, they got double siege. I think DC siege 1 and 1 siege the other, right?
Well, it was also the fact that the blue was pushing in onto one of the doubles. Yeah. The 2 at the top, I believe that was AIM and Rory. No, AIM and Smack. Well, either way, the 2 that were in the more northern split, they had to come in from the blue, and even though the split was allowing them a lot of control because of the open area around them, and it was a bit of a double-edged sword because once they had to make their own transition back into a group of 4, they didn't have vehicles to either. They didn't have vehicles, didn't want to use the vehicles, and so they just attempted to make the run across. And not only with DC, I believe, breaching in onto their position, as well as the blue, it just didn't work out for them at all. So a little bit of a mismanagement of where to do the 2-2 split. 2-2 splits, like, in order to make them work well, you have to have good positions as well as vehicles, and basically always have an exit strategy. And it seemed that they just weren't prepared for where this particular circle went.
Well, consistency, keeping FaZe, Knights, Rogue all in the top 3 of the overall points. Guys, we have one more game to go. Do not go anywhere. Game number 4 will be coming up after the break.